You're listening to a main feed episode. Go to patreon.com/Celtic Ligers where €5 a month gets you weekly full-length episodes, stray bonus content and access to the back catalogue. Also helps cover hosting and gives us money for sweeties. Thank you. Celtic Ligers.
Recorded 8th of December 2024.
I drop a lot of articles into the chat, and there'll be things that will be on my mind, like leading up to an election, or things that people will be talking about. Once this election was over, there's been a bit of people have been sort of lost, There's all the paper, there just hasn't been much. I'm looking at the opinion pieces and stuff. There's not really some sort of big mad consensus. There's no excitement about forming the government. There's all the people who write the articles and all that stuff, they're pretty content with the results, so they're not talking about shock horrors. Nobody's so what the opinions are is and all the consensus of the media class is basically just kind of what now? And then there's nothing to talk about, so they're just kind of waffling, and that's basically what the past. There's no articles that I put in, so my research has been lacking this week.
I said it before. It really is and this isn't the thought, but it is the Irish version of the end of history. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil again. The first time was an anomaly. It was can you believe these two parties went in together? Well, the supply of confidence, whatever it was called, people were that's surprising. And then when they went in, the reaction was this is historic. These two parties are nearly identical, finally went in. Yeah. And then now they've gone in again. Or they're going to. And it's just maybe they'll just do that forever.
Well, I think when I remember when with the confidence and supply agreement, they were we just have to do this, and then most of the punditry was I guess they just have to do that because Brexit is such a clear and present danger. Glad that we navigated our way through that one and we didn't get the hardest Brexit possible. It was a good thing that Ireland worked together to ensure that Brexit didn't really whatever. And anyway, that happened. But then when the coalition formed for the first time, that was in the middle of COVID. And so the pundits were oh yeah, that was pretty crazy that happened. But anyway, on to the next COVID thing. There wasn't really much time to acknowledge it or breathe. And now,
it's also worth mentioning that they did it to, remember there was calls for a unity government.
A unity government, yeah.
And remember Barack was I wouldn't go in with Sinn Féin. Or no, he didn't want Sinn Féin involved. And then... Yeah. But there was also that thing of I wouldn't go in with Sinn Féin, and Mary Lou hasn't even come to talk to me.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
And so it was but you wouldn't go in with her, so you wanted to go talk to you, even though you have said you wouldn't go in with her. Yes.
And then just yep. He's so anyway. So. Yeah, that was fucking... Yeah, no, I was just talking about, now they go into coalition a second time, lowest voter turnout ever, the vote share for each of them going down when they used to be able to command, and they used to be able to go into government just by themselves. And now they need each other to prop each other up. And, we're repeating ourselves now, but just that thing of, the pundits are talking about it. Well, will the Soc Dems get in or will Labour get in? What's going to happen? It's there's just no interest in the way they'll talk about around the world. They're how do they get Trump in again? How are all these racists taking power? Why are people so disillusioned with politics? And then they'll start writing this stuff where it's just well, nothing to see here. Anyway, on to the next one, on to the next.
What do you think about all this stuff where it's that the voter turnout is it's not as low as it seems because the register is so untidy?
Well, isn't that a failure in itself?
I know, but it's apparently they say there's 500,000 like extra votes on the register, if you understand what I mean. Like if you count all the
Right.
people who haven't been kicked off because they moved, maybe they registered in 2 spots or someone died or left the country.
Yeah.
There's like 500,000 people.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that information. Is my take with that.
Well, it's just maybe the turnout wasn't as low as it seemed, is what I'm saying.
I mean, completely anecdotally, I didn't see anybody skipping to the polls. Do you know? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like there was a lot of people turning out. But I don't know. Could be wrong.
Turnout for what? And then so that happened. Yeah, I think it could just be this for the rest of time. Hopefully,
No,
won't.
it's not. I think it's because their votes are like going down. We sound like an idiot here,
but if
like,
they stay together, if they
Yeah.
always go in together, they've always, I don't know, like they'd both have to like get half their votes. Like Fianna Fáil's votes are going up
yeah.
continuously.
I don't think they are.
Well, they went up this time from last time,
Yeah.
and then from the time before they went up again.
What do it?
Well, we do look it up. Like,
Me? No, I'm not being disparaging. I'm just saying that none of that stuff means anything to me. Do you know? Like, I'm just talking about it like pure vibes based. Okay, where
Yeah.
like, which is what this podcast is all about. When I was like a teenager, like Fianna Fáil
Yeah.
were like really big in the public
Yeah.
imagination. And then the crash happened, and then they got destroyed, and they've kind of made it back, but they haven't made it back to where they were. Like, it's still a downward thing because they are both on the run in a way where they have to basically combine forces to
yeah, but what I'm saying
stay
is
in the race.
like, you think about it. Fianna Fáil, yeah, they're obviously the massive party. Then they destroyed the country, right? And they got absolutely annihilated. And they're like 10 years later, after they left government, or like 13 years later.
20.
They're the what?
About 20.
Well, like since they left government the last time is what I mean. They left government in when? 2011?
2011, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
sorry. Yeah.
So since then, now they're the biggest party again. And like obviously they're not where they were pre-crash. But like they went from like there was a point where people were like they've had it, they're gone. Like
Yeah.
and now they're the biggest party.
Yeah.
So
But not by much. Like, I mean, not by much.
Yeah.
And Sinn Féin have like risen up as well. Do you
I know, but like by quite like what if Fianna Fáil on 45?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're on 45.
Mm.
And Sinn Féin are on 32.
Yeah.
So like obviously Sinn Féin are doing better, but like Fianna Fáil, like to go from destroying the country to being the largest party over the course of 13 years.
It's still relative, though. Do you know what I mean? It's just that Sinn Féin were not a contender back then, whereas like Fine Gael were like the main opposition. Do you know what I'm saying? So now it's like split
Yeah.
between 3 people. But like the direction of travel is like, you know, it's like any sort of fucking graph where there's like little blips and ups and downs and whatnot, but it is down. It's not going back up to where they were before, where they had the dominance that they once had.
I know, but I'm not saying we'll see a future where Fianna Fáil are doing. They were the only ones in government. I'm saying the Irish end of history is where Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael form a government forever.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be forever, though. That's my contention. I think that, like, by going in with each other, they've kind of, like, they've slit their throats, and it's just going to take it could be 100 years for it to bleed out. And also, there's no guarantee it'll be replaced by anything good. But ultimately, like, there's just so many more crises and things happening, and that I don't think that they're getting any more voters. I think the people they have are the people they have. I don't know whether they're going to get, like, a sizable amount more in Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael voters.
No, I think people are going back to Fianna Fáil. I think there was a long time where they were getting punished. And now people are like, this is obviously anecdotal and it's a very specific thing, but like everyone at work loves Fianna Fáil, you know? I think people are going back to them.
Yeah.
Like going into coalition with Fine Gael has really worked for Fianna Fáil. That's
very peculiar to me. Yeah.
I know. Like it's insane, but it is working. Like when I say the end of history, I mean, I just mean like a long period where there's going to be Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael.
Well, you just mean like kind of a stasis. Do you know what I mean? Where like, I think what the original one was that like, hey, all the problems have kind of been solved. History is just various conflicts, but now the US is dominant and will remain so forever. So that's what the history, or like it
was the spread of social democracy after the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah,
like,
or this feeling as well that like we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. Even our enemies are still like fighting us on our terrain, as opposed to like completely ideologically, you know, two entirely different systems fighting against each other.
Yeah. And you could say that with Sinn Féin, like they're increasingly becoming like just they're just becoming old Fianna Fáil.
Maybe, yeah. I think things could change very quickly. There's a lot of volatility with stuff at the moment, and a lot of situations which are going to present themselves. Like, you know,
I mean, hopefully.
I mean, in some ways, hopefully we'll get a second fucking pandemic. Hopefully we'll get. What I'm saying is that like these are the situations that present themselves, like climate crises, the climate crisis, the creating all of these, you know, like pandemics, migrants, you know, things like this. And, also, by the way, I'm sorry that I mentioned those two in the same, like that they were the same thing.
No, I get you.
There's no equivalence, okay? I'm just saying that like there's a lot of things that are, and especially with geopolitics the way that they are now, where it's like it just makes no sense to me. I remember during COVID we were talking and about how like the language of the pandemic will probably get used about the migrant emergency. Yeah.
I think that is sort of true. Like people have they would equivocate like you just did. The migrant crisis and like the pandemic.
Yeah.
Even though they're not obviously the same.
I think there's a real. I'm gonna get really like whatever. Fuck it. I need to stop fucking prefacing everything I say. But like, I think that there's a real trauma that has not been recognized as a result of the pandemic. What happens when you disrupt everything that we know, keep people indoors for 2 to 3 years, okay? And then go back to everything as if nothing has happened, okay? Which is like, it was amazing that during the pandemic was during the 5 years that these people were in government, 4 or 5 years. And what mention did it get at all? Did it factor into people's decisions? And I think if it did, they weren't aware that it did.
Martin kept mentioning it. Remember that?
It's true. Yeah.
But I think it was very weird that he did. But I watched that film Grand Theft Hamlet. I was talking to you about it off pod, and it's about these guys who try to do Hamlet during the pandemic, and there is a sense that I'd sort of not completely forgotten, but it was like they were sort of like, I have nothing to do, but financially, obviously people suffer financially during the crisis.
Yeah.
But
small business owners are on
a
their
lot of
knees,
people
so-
didn't. Yeah. And then, but they were like, financially, I'm okay. I'm not gonna. So I can just do a project that brings me joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was such a big sense of that. People talking about how, like, you know, there's a freedom in just doing what you love. You know?
I mean, like, there's a bunch of things that I've attended over the past few years to do with writing, and a lot of times now you'll find a lot of the people in the course or whatever thing I'm in, they'll be like, yeah, I was a lawyer and I hated it, and then because of the pandemic I had a chance to write some screenplays and stuff and realize that this was something I wanted to do.
Yeah, and like the government, after a lot of pushback from the middle class, came out and gave like the PUP payments. You know, people had enough money to explore what they loved. And then then also and time, you know, and people retrained, you know, to do other things. And then there was that real sense of like I was talking to someone who's involved in like, what do you call it? Like drug thing.
Manufacturing?
You know, you know, people who are addicted.
Okay.
There's like loads of, you know, like, we'll say like, on the homeless people were given accommodation off the street, or like all this sort of stuff. There's a real sense of like, there are these problems and we need to solve them during the pandemic. And then it was hard to believe that things would go back to normal, and then they did. Like, it's amazing how the lessons of COVID were just like, okay, COVID's over, back to work, back to the street.
Yeah, get back to work, you fucking...
Cut the budget.
And they were like very insistent about it and very angry about it, you know, like the government. And obstinate about it.
Like, think about it, the government took over private hospitals. Because there was like, this system isn't fit for purpose. We acknowledged that during COVID. And then once COVID was over, it was like, okay, back to the old system that we just acknowledged didn't work.
Exactly. I mean, that was everything during COVID. And I just feel like, that has an effect, whether people realize it or not. And then the monk is a perfect example of somebody who like came within a fucking hair of getting in. And a lot of people are just like, at the moment, just, I don't know, very, like, I do think that there is a sizable constituency of people who are very frustrated and angry with what is happening in the world and the kind of status quo. And then, but they've also are like, why the fuck would I bother going out voting? Who gives a shit? Do you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to blame people for, like, I'm not. I'm just saying that you need to give people a reason to vote, and nobody's doing that. And I think that there is a kind of like decline that's happening, and that it's very easy to imagine if somebody just, you know, said the right words, stood on the right stage, and did the right thing, that they could command a bunch of people. That could be, you know.
But what's crazy is that, like, Sinn Féin did that.
I know, and then they stopped doing that.
They stopped doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I don't know. I can't even speak. Like, they bottled it so hard. And, like, they didn't even bottle it. They just intentionally changed strategy. They're like, okay, we're nearly there. Let's get ready to be in government, i.e., drop anything that made us different, you know?
Yeah. Which is the end of history thing that you're talking about. Which is instead of imagining an alternative, it's like, okay, we need to get ready to be in government, so let's just be like the government, you know?
Yeah.
And then the thing that the whole world over, like the whole world, Western world, you know, you have like the Democrats and then you have Labour in the UK, and they're like, the left aren't going anywhere, so let's just, you know, do these things, which court like other areas of, like, instead of just like energizing and galvanizing people to come out, they kind of are just like, well, we've got those guys now. No reason to, you know, like keep them motivated, keep them animated. Like there's another part of it as well where, like, you know, Corbyn didn't win in 2019. Okay.
No.
But, you know, the amount of times you heard people, I'm out canvassing, I'm out campaigning, I'm going out. Like, you know, that you have these people who become like loyal foot soldiers of your campaign.
Yes.
Like, that's the thing that's kind of missing whenever you're like, I'm going to court these old property owning stuffy assholes who will hate me because of the Pavlovian thing we've been talking about, where it's like anytime they hear Sinn Féin, they just immediately, like some Manchurian candidate, just like a balaclava just goes in front of their no, like they can't.
Yeah.
You know.
And
what
like,
about steak knife?
You know, there's this sort of excuse after COVID of like, well, that all costs money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like taking over the private hospitals, that costs money, blah, blah, blah. And then we find out that like, even without the Apple tax, there were like billions in the rainy day fund, you know?
Can I play these two things for you? Well, one of them actually. I just want to show you this image that came up because I was on the Phoenix. I was reading some article about like, I don't like the Phoenix. I'm going to shock you right now and tell you I do not like the Phoenix.
I love the Phoenix. Why don't you like it? Can I make a coffee?
Just to look at this quickly, and then I'll make a coffee as well, actually, because I want a coffee. But I'm going to go live from London. This was an article. This is a little comic in the Phoenix, splitting the general election 2024. And sure, look, it's a bunch of fucking pints, and they're only half. Yeah,
it's not splitting the general election. It's splitting the GE.
Oh, GE 2024. Excuse me.
As in, like splitting the G.
I don't know what that means.
You never heard of splitting the G?
I have not.
It's a new fad from the most insane group of people in Ireland, Guinness aficionados, where it's you have your first drink out of the Guinness, you're supposed to like, the level is supposed to hit the middle of the G in Guinness on the glass.
Fuck off.
I didn't invent
I
it.
hate these fucking people. It's still shite.
But it's like, even if you like it, you don't have to pour it in two parts. I don't believe that.
No.
I don't think. I'm not going to get into it. There's so much bullshit. I think
visually you need that head on it, but like it's not essential for the flavor of the fucking pint.
Yeah. Kevin Larney from Shy Talk once made a good observation, and he was like, "There's no other like thing, like a drink or something that, you know, where people would be that forgiving. As in, imagine if you were like drinking Club Orange and you were like, oh, this is a really bad Club Orange because it's too far from the Club Orange factory. Eventually you just give up on Club Orange, you know what I mean? As opposed to like getting more into it. There's so much people complain about Guinness. It's like, is it worth it then? It seems like a really badly made drink that's really unreliable. But somehow that's like, part of the mystique.
Well, I feel like we could be wrong about this. People write in. No, actually don't, because if you care about Guinness, please don't write in. But like the two pour thing, like I was saying, is to maintain that head so that it has a head on it. Okay, is that not just for like the advertisers then? You know, the people who are like, 100%. I need every pint to look like this, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to send out people to check the pints, and then we're going to make it an ad campaign where we have people who check the pints, and it's like, that's also an ad campaign then. That's also this kind of thing of like, you know, we care so much about it, and Yeah, and we're all. And also remember Arthur's Day. Do you remember this thing? It's like we're all part of a big club, and we enjoy drinking Guinness. Okay, and we're all Guinness fans together, and there's a whole culture around it, which means that it exists outside of you just go to the pub and drink something to get fucking pissed.
Yeah, like maybe I don't drink, but I don't think I'm wrong. With other stouts,
Yeah,
you don't do a 2-part pour.
I've seen people do it, but then I've seen people not do it, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and then like I've seen people pouring a Guinness from a can.
Yes.
And they get the head on it, and they don't do a 2-part pour. I think like I don't think the 2-part pour affects it at all. Because it doesn't affect any other drink, and it also doesn't affect a lot of types of Guinness.
Yeah.
So, I think it's purely advertising.
Yeah.
So anyway, it says split into GE, and then the one to the left says Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, glass half full. That's fair. As in, that's an accurate representation of what they say. Sinn Féin, glass half empty. Maybe.
Well, here's what they're saying. They're kind of going like, look, you know, well, I don't know. What does half full mean? Does it mean like, I don't know what they're saying about Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. I don't think a lot of people do. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael just kind of, you know, whenever I see it with the Phoenix, they're just like, yeah, but they're just the government. Who cares? But every time, whenever like it comes to Sinn Féin, it's like, oh, they're just begrudgers. They're just moaning. They're just whinging.
No, that's complete misrepresentation.
Okay.
Of the Phoenix's thing.
Oh, right. I just meant in this. Well, okay, yeah, go on.
I think in this one they're saying like Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael are just saying everything's great. You know, the economy's doing really well. Well, that's what it's like.
Okay, cool.
Sinn Féin, glass half empty.
We didn't describe what the glasses look like because the glass. I mean, maybe people know what that means with splitting the G, but like the glass is like a half full pint glass of Guinness with Guinness.
Or half empty.
Or half empty.
Sinn Féin, glass half empty. I guess they're saying Sinn Féin moan a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing about the Phoenix. They you know, equal opportunity offenders, you know? Okay.
All right. The right/far right. Glass is full. Stop immigration.
Yes.
Cheeky.
Now that is another bit of Phoenix, you know. I love the comics. There's just... It is like someone had half an idea, and then they're like, oh, I need one more thing, so just write something that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. This one, though, just pissed me off.
Liquid should be more fairly distributed among smaller glasses.
It annoys me so much because it's kind of like, and this is the thing that keeps happening. And I know it's like to go after a comic, it's like stupid, obviously. But it just like, similarly, I had recently also watched this sketch. I just want to show you this thing real quick as well. Connor Sketches Ireland. And people are like, people were loving this. And it was like, doll dates. It's first dates, but you know, what if, I will admit his Micheál Martin impression is pretty good. His Simon Harris is terrible.
Channels you find are so funny. Like, how'd you even find Connor Sketches IRA?
This one somebody fucking shared this on Twitter. That's how I found this one. Okay. I just want to show you this real quick. I mean, like, can you hear that? You could hear that? Yeah. I'll show you this. We'll watch a bit of it, but there's one bit in particular that I wanted to point out. So yeah, doll dates like first dates, and yeah, there's some. I can't wait to show you this. All right.
Okay.
Meet Micheál from Cork. He's here to find a coalition partner, and he will go on multiple dates.
So I'm just coming out of a relationship, a throuple.
How long?
5 years.
First up, Simon from Wicklow.
When I was told I was being given a mandate now, I didn't expect it to be this.
What would you like to order, gentlemen?
Well, first off, can I just say that's a really, really good question. And I think we're both going to have the steak, the usual.
Yes, no, I don't think there's a need to change it up. So we do that.
Would you like any vegetables?
Oh, no, we're done with the greens, I can tell you that now.
Yes, no more greens.
Michael, will you shut up?
You're bringing attention to it. Oh, shut up, Pascal. We weeded out the greens.
Are you ready to order, sir?
Yes, well, I'm celebrating, so I'm going to have the steak with a pint of diesel, please.
A pint of diesel.
Meet Jerry, the monk. He's made quite an impression this past week in Dáil Éireann.
Jerry, you shouldn't be here. You lost.
What are you talking about? I won.
Jerry, you lost.
Are you calling me a liar?
Jesus, no, I would never do that, Jerry.
Bullshit.
Look, all I want is a handy old job, you know, nothing too strenuous. One of those jobs where you just take a few pictures. You know where you do fuck all.
Fuck's sake, Jerry, I can't make you Taoiseach.
Oh.
He could be a little bit too forward for me now, I feel, yes.
Things
This
are
bit
going
here I
very
want to
well
point
with
out.
Mary.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Would you like a little wine, miss?
Well, I'd love one, actually. I mean, they've crashed the economy, they've caused austerity. I mean, all the kids are going to Australia because...
Mary Lou,
on
I
top
think
of
he
that,
needs to
he's a
drink.
Oh.
Could we try the 1920 Reserva, please?
Sure.
Oh, that's nice, that's nice. 100 years old, I believe. Yes, reliable and familiar, yes.
It smells stale to me, doesn't appeal to the overall majority. I like something new and exciting.
Try
Are
this.
they talking about
Thank
wine or something else?
Oh, that's bold, with a hint of promise.
Smells like sour grapes to me now. She has a lot to say. Feisty, yes.
Oh, and if you thought these first 7 months were exciting, you ain't seen nothing yet.
God, I love your energy. I don't know where you get it.
So do you think you guys will see each other again?
Well, first off, can I just say that's a really, really good question. And
Of course we will. Be seeing plenty of me, right? We'll be very happy to get a meat hall, yeah? Take you all over the world. You ever been to Lanzarote?
anyway, Pascal, that is me done. Anybody want to lift home? I've got the jet outside. The old diesel to put hairs in your chest.
Very good.
Yeah, it is one of those sketches where he gets too excited and just puts every reference in, even if it doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like having the monk there. And just being like, yeah, do you remember the monk wouldn't leave? And
Yeah.
he kept insisting he wanted a job in government. No, he just left.
It's a big SEO fucking hose just sprayed over the audience.
We need that.
But like his
We need-
Micheál Martin is pretty good. I have to give him that. I just really like
Yeah.
that really rictus smile that he puts on. He gets the hand gestures right. But the depiction of it is like a bumbling Micheál Martin, and you know they're going to stick with the usual, the old reliable. But then when he gets to Mary Lou, it's like, God, she's fucking whinging again about how everything is shit, and actually it's just sour grapes. And I just kind of saw that, and then shortly after that saw the Phoenix cartoon where it's like, oh God, Sinn Féin just whinging and whining, and just this feeling has come out of just like, she's up there and she's going, we have a housing crisis, we have a healthcare crisis, you know? And then the left are saying we need to try and fix this, the left aside from Sinn Féin. And then the kind of mood has been like, God, do they have to keep going on? You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm the guy at the bar with my fucking elbow up going, you're all fucking crooks like Jerry Hutch. I don't know what. They're all fucking, why do we need to be moaning at all? You know, all just a bunch of whingers. All just a bunch of whingers. And you're like, shut up.
Yeah. I also don't like anti-Hutch stuff. You know, I like the
No,
monk.
I knew that you wouldn't respond well to that.
You know, what's wrong with the monk? Let him in. Like, why didn't they vote him in?
Is it? I mean, I will say his second preferences were for Malachi Steenson. He was saying that people should give their number to the far right. So,
yeah, but apart from that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, apart from that and all the crimes he committed.
Yeah, but crimes like what? Like stealing diamonds from, you know what I mean? Bank robberies?
If you own a bunch of diamonds, you deserve to have them stolen.
Like, imagine if Gordon Shoga's diamond mine over in South Africa got robbed. You wouldn't be like, that man should never be elected. You'd be like, make them, you know, get him in there. He robbed a couple of banks. And it not to be like bullshit, but like, He did less damage to people than austerity. You know, I'm going
I
to
do
say
think
it.
that.
I will say
Yeah.
it, you know? Like, austerity
I
was
think, like,
violence
yeah.
against people. It was state violence.
Like we were on the live stream, and then we saw Michael Lowry was like running away with it, and I was like, how the fuck does Michael Lowry keep getting voted in? And people in the chat were like, he's a good constituency politician, he like promises stuff to be. He's like, he was a guy who was on like, he's like one of the most corrupt politicians who's still in the Dáil, and that's like that's quite a contentious, you know, like,
like
category.
Even, like, say there's like personal corruption like that.
Yeah.
And it's condemned. But like, austerity was like, resulted in people dying.
Yeah.
You know, in a very real way. And it's seen as like tough but fair.
Well, I wouldn't have I wasn't drawing a distinction between austerity and the crimes that Michael Lowry did, because anytime that like a politician lines their own pockets, you know, using the influence of their position, and the country, everybody else can just get fucked, okay?
Yeah.
Then I think that's like, you know, it's just like, it shows a complete lack of disrespect for your fellow citizen.
Yeah.
Or sorry, complete lack of respect for your fellow citizen. But ultimately, like, people will be like, yeah, no, I know that they're shit, and I know they did all these awful things, but, you know, they're really good to the people in their community. So if you could say that about, like, you could say that about Jerry Hutch. Like, Bertie Ahern has said that about Jerry Hutch. So I just think, like, the idea of, like, pretending that he's, like... And then he nearly got in, and then the press were, like, literally running after him like he was the fucking Beatles. And they also sort of, like, patted themselves on the back to be like, somehow they're responsible for him nearly getting it, but also they see themselves as being responsible for him not getting it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the feeling that I got off them. They didn't say as much, but there was this feeling of like, fuck you, nah, Hutch, you didn't get in, you idiot.
Literally.
And it was like, you should hang your head in shame. If you actually care that, like, I can't believe this guy is going to get in, then you should be like embarrassed. You shouldn't be chasing after him and grinning like Paul Reynolds is.
No,
you should be like, yeah.
You followed him around for the whole campaign.
Yeah.
You gave him special attention. And now you're being like, what a close call. This guy that we like gave so much free publicity to nearly got in.
Yeah, but they're not even treating it like a close call. They're also kind of just being like, yeah, the electorate have spoken and you didn't get in, you idiot. And it was like, by the skin of his fucking teeth. Like, it was only a handful of votes that, like, sold it. And I have no idea, like, and it was rigged, obviously, as we have established on this podcast. But,
like, I wouldn't want the general getting it. You know what I mean? I know he's dead, but I wouldn't want the general, or I wouldn't want one of the Kinahans getting it. It's just the monk. But hey.
But there's that kind of thing of, but when people, the whole thing that I'm getting off the election is just like, we'll make the cups of coffee and come back. But I also think it's worth talking about bits from Paul Murphy's article, which I thought were kind of interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
There's also, by the way, Irish leaders debate in 2 minutes. Another Conor Moore sketch. If anybody, we want it. No, let's not and say we did.
What other skits does he have? Okay, let me make the coffee, then we'll come back.
Yeah, I'll make the coffee as well. I'll be back in a sec.
You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.
What were we talking about? I meant to watch the sketch of the leaders debate.
Oh yeah, I just want to. What's his name again? I want to look through his channel.
Connor Sketches Ireland on YouTube.
Connor Sketch Ireland.
What were we talking about? What was the whole? We had a thing we were going to do.
Paul Murphy's article.
Oh, Paul Murphy's article. I was looking through my tabs and I saw what was the one? It was funny there 2 seconds ago. It couldn't have been that funny if I don't fucking remember it. I only saw it 2 seconds ago.
Yeah,
no, it's not funny. Oh no, it was funny. Paul Gogarty is part of the same independence group as the Healy Rays.
Oh, really?
I thought that was funny. Just like an independent green, and now like, well, you know, now independent means racist, so I guess he just has to do that. You know. So the group will include Independent Ireland TDs Michael Collins, Michael Fitzmaurice, Richard O'Donoghue, and Ken Flynn, as well as independents Paul Gogarty, Michael Healy-Rae, and Danny Healy-Rae. So way to let the side down. We were so excited, weren't we? Weren't we, folks, when he was back after a successful stint as an acoustic musician?
Yeah, I was hoping to keep that epic energy. I was hoping he'd swear in public again.
Maybe he will. He'll be like, "Fuck you, Mary Lou. Ireland is full, you traitor."
Yeah. With all due respect, Ireland is full.
Yeah. In the most unparliamentary language, we are being replaced. Fuckers.
Yeah, just putting it at the end.
Fuck you, Deputy Stag. Fuck you.
Yeah. Novara Media are selling merch now. I was tempted to buy you a hat, but it was too expensive.
They've been selling merch for a while. You know, death to landlords, all this type of shit. But it's funny because like I don't know if you saw this, but recently Novara it's the funny thing is I used to listen to Novara all the time and just kind of be like, well, it's a nice little hour of the day's events in the evening with people who aren't like incredibly right wing disseminating the information. So I just thought it was useful for that. But then once they once the Democrats lost to Trump, they dedicated like 20 to 30 minutes of one of the episodes talking about how the left might be too woke to win elections. And then like they've always been making these movements to make themselves politically palatable to people on like GB News, etc. But like like Aaron Bastani, one of the hosts, he was on saying that like what was it, that fucking migrants shouldn't be in receipt of welfare benefits because if they manage to make it to the country, then it shows that they're able to work.
I think they should have access to, obviously, the NHS, but things like job seekers allowance or disability benefit, I obviously don't agree with that. I think it would be very strange for somebody to travel by foot from Iranian Kurdistan all the way to England and somehow say they're not fit to work.
And you're like, there's always like these disgusting things that they indulge in, and sometimes you can be like, this is for the benefit of a right-wing audience that they're trying to court, and it's not pleasant, but maybe
really
it's a strategy. Do you know what?
Did they really say that? Migrants shouldn't get welfare, and he's a host. That's crazy. He's one of the hosts. Yeah, he's the author of automated luxury communism. And he said that.
Yeah, he said that. And but like, they've also been kind of like trying to make themselves look sort of professional, and professional means like, so like fucking Michael Walker, one of the hosts, is like, during the student protests, says this himself, he considered himself an anarchist and now he's a social democrat. But like, you know, he did a whole series on like landlords, and he previously hated landlords, but now he has more sympathy for landlords and shit like this. But on Twitter, he'll obviously put out this stuff, and people would just be like, shut the fuck up, you know, about like trans people in particular, about how like, oh, maybe we need to kind of cool it on trans politics. And it's like, who was talking about that? Like, if you're going to bring up Kamala Harris and be like, she lost the election because she was talking too much about trans people, like, point me to anything outside of that one clip where she said it. It's just I don't know whether, I don't think that swayed like a serious amount of votes. I think it was purely on like kitchen table issues, and to kind of indulge in this thing where it's like, actually the Democrats were too woke. It's like, you know, people have pointed this out before, but like previously, like Bernie Sanders was like it was used as a cudgel against Bernie Sanders that he went on Joe Rogan. And now it's like, why didn't she go on Joe Rogan? It's like, you know, they really do use this sort of idea of like, you know, massive air quotes, woke leftism as a cudgel when it suits them, and then as a reason for their defeat when it doesn't suit them. You know?
Yeah.
I don't see any point in just stick to your own politics and stop trying to be like one of the tweets that I saw around that time was from Mikey Walsh, and he was, I can't remember what it was. Maybe he was even quoting somebody else, but he was like talking about like relationships, and it was like, if you go into a relationship thinking you can change somebody, you're the one who ends up getting changed, you know? Like, so it's just like all you can do is say your bit and then hope that people respond to it.
And like, you know, none of this, when I'm talking about it at least, you know, there's no sense of being like, oh, I wish she'd done better. Like,
yeah,
if she'd only done this, she would have done better. Like, I'm as happy she lost as if Trump lost. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're both bad. So, it is just like, I've said it before, but it does feel like you're a peasant and it's like two rival kings are fighting over your land. And you're just sort of like, well, I don't have much for say in either of these things. So, like obviously I don't live there, but they have a massive influence in the world.
Yeah.
It is just sort of like, or it's like hearing about the Pope getting elected, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like living in the Holy Roman Empire, and you're just like, right, well, I guess this is the guy who's on the coin now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen Conclave?
No.
Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like, I saw little bits and pieces on Twitter. I was like, I don't know what this is. It's just Ray Fine wearing like kind of papal hat looking thing.
Yeah, it's an incredible visual film.
Is it?
It's obviously about the election of the Pope. It was like the West Wing, but set in the Vatican. You know?
Sounds interesting.
It was extremely the sort of thing to get me going, you know? But
yeah, you love that shit.
I do.
You love the
Just
Pope. Just the idea of the Pope, not the Pope itself.
Yeah, I do. I love like all that, you know, because with the conclave they get sealed in. Like the whatever building they're in, no one can come in or out. While the election is going on, and it can last days. You know, it's just so like ancient. It just gets me going.
Yeah, there's something, the ceremonial kind of aspect of it, but also like the kind of, I think also the way that it changes over time, where it's like, yeah, the Pope is God's representative on earth, and this is like a huge thing. And nowadays it's kind of like almost like a reality show. And also like the kind of inconsistencies in it also make, like, I find it funny that like, oh yeah, God's representative on earth has always been like a white guy, you know, a white man. This is the only person he ever thought to choose. And also somebody who was already like, you know, a man of the cloth. It wasn't just some random guy in the middle of like Uganda or something, you know.
And like for like hundreds of years, it was a guy from Italy. Like it wasn't even just a white guy. It was,
exactly.
I think what I love about it is that, you know, when we think of the church, it's like, in Ireland particularly, like it's dying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so like fossilized that none of it means anything. Whereas when you see a film like Conclave, obviously it's film, but you're like, for these people, it's living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the stakes are there, and like they're really negotiating what this means, and they're trying to keep it alive, you know? Because it's like you have the conservative guy who's running, and then you have the liberal guy. And the conservative guy is like talking about how they should never have gotten rid of Latin as a language of communication in the church.
Yeah.
And like, he's sort of talking, he has this thing of like, they're all sitting at dinner, and all the like American cardinals are sitting together, all the, whatever African ones are sitting together, and he's like, if we were all speaking Latin, there'd be more mixing,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but like, he was just really negotiated with how the church should live.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, it shows that for some people it's still alive. Probably shouldn't be. I mean, the church is very evil in a lot of ways. But it's interesting, nevertheless.
Yeah, no, I'd love to, I'm gonna have to watch it, I think, now. Just after you saying that. I wasn't really that pushed, because like there's so many things this is a really dumb thing to say, but so many things in the past few years which, like, when I see Ray Fiennes and he's wearing the robe and he's got the little, yarmulke on,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this must be some Sky show that's in its 4th season and it's been going forever. Like, I just presume, because like, there's been so much papal stuff in the past few years, like the young pope, the old pope, the fucking
Pope
whatever pope,
incredible.
And then the two popes. You remember? Wasn't that one with fucking Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, were they playing real popes? Was that Ratzinger? And
I'm gonna look that up. But there's just so much pope stuff. I just kind of immediately dismissed it, and then people are like, everybody's talking about the conclave, and it's kind of like your reaction. Presumably, maybe you have similar reactions. Like if somebody starts talking about Squid Game nonstop, you're like, shut up.
Yeah,
I did watch Squid Game and I did love Squid Game, but that was a rare exception. Usually people are like, oh, I love, some Netflix bullshit. And then you start watching and it's like, this is trash. This is just grist for the mill. This is just I guess we have to have a show and it's going to have Christina Applegate in it. And also, like.
Yeah. Now Conclave isn't amazing.
Yeah.
It's very lib, but it's worth a watch, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, they say like half of the bishops and cardinals in the Vatican are gay,
Yeah.
That's why they dress so well.
Yeah, there's a lot of pageantry, let's just say,
Yeah. And it's so funny how they have the Swiss guards as well, with their get-up. Have you ever seen their get-up?
No, actually, I'll look it up now.
They say Leonardo da Vinci designed the outfits. But they're like, also
Same
like
scale.
submachine. Yeah. They have submachine guns as well.
Amazing. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, that's very funny.
So they're wearing like Florentine, like Renaissance Florentine outfits.
Yeah.
It's like blue and yellow stripes and pantaloons. But then they also have like a submachine gun. It's really weird.
I also I didn't like the movie, but I was excited by the prospect of the movie, which turned out to be bad, which is Angels and Demons. Where they're like, do you know the one like what's that fucking
Dan Brown?
Yeah. But what's the character's name as well? Like Robert Langdon or something. So like there's a conspiracy happening in the Vatican City. Or like, hell yeah. I love the idea of like, and I also love a contemporary setting for something, but I like thrillery stuff. I don't like what the old Pope and the two popes and all that stuff seems, which is kind of like The Crown, which is like these distinguished, they're part of like a tradition, and the tradition maybe that's on the way out. And should it go out? Does it have right to still be? That type of like just sitting there like conversing and talking about the issues. And I'm just like, I couldn't fucking care less, to be honest. I love the idea of like a big helicopter crashing in Vatican City and there's like a virus that's threatening to get out. You're like, that's very funny to me. So yeah, when I was reading Conclave, they're like, mystery thriller film. Maybe that's overselling it, but oh fuck, it's got John. I hate John Lithgow. I hate him.
Do you?
Like I didn't used to hate him. I used to love John Lithgow because I was like, hey, it's your man from Third Rock from the Sun, and he's in serious stuff now. And I love seeing him in like old stuff. I thought he was good crack,
Yeah.
But like, I recently hated him because he played Roald Dahl in that play that accused him of being an anti-Semite. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Also, he played Churchill.
Or something.
Yeah, he does. In The Crown, he plays Churchill in the most pompous way possible. There's no sort of like it's just the most American.
Yeah.
Like an American has observed Churchill and been like when Margaret Thatcher was played by Meryl Streep, you know, where it's like you just. I was going to say that.
Have you seen that?
No, the Iron Lady. No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, Gillian Anderson plays her in the.
Yeah,
Crown.
I was about to say that Gillian Anderson was like British, but I realized she's actually American. But she did seem to be like, have the appropriate contempt laid in there for Margaret Thatcher.
I read once. I think her mom is British or her dad, and apparently, like, she call it code switching. Like, she doesn't put on a British accent. She just has two accents.
Interesting.
Also, speaking about thrillers and conspiracy theories, I'm starting reading. There's two Aoifes who are journalists, or there's a few of them. Aoife Barry?
I was going to say that, but then I was like, is that actually just somebody I know? And I'm about to say their name.
Yeah. No, it's not Aoife Barry, it's Aoife Gallagher, which is another, like, very familiar name.
Aoife Grace Moore, anything to do with her? No.
No. Yeah.
Oh, wait, it's Aoife Moore now. Where's the
Is
Grace
it?
gone? That's funny.
Yeah, she lost her grace when she joined the Irish Times.
No, it wasn't the Irish Times. It was the British Times, the Murdoch-owned press, and then she got fucked out of there. So that's
well,
the
she
end of
lost
that.
her grace. Anyway.
I'm just wondering if she got divorced or something. Is that possible?
So I'm reading Aoife Gallagher's Web of Lies. The lure and danger of conspiracy theories. She's an Irish journalist who's writing it. And I already have a sense of how it's going to go, because she's talking about conspiracy theories in the introduction.
Yes.
And she's talking about like 9/11 truthers, and then she's like, and you know, some conspiracy theories they've found out to be true, like Exxon I don't know what that one is, or whatever, or like Edward Snowden. And you're just like, you're Irish, what about the molestation of children by the Catholic Church? You know, like, what about that conspiracy theory? That was true. You know what I mean? Like, what about all the conspiracy theories in Ireland that turned out to be true? You know, like, she's completely ignoring the Irish context so far, for all the, like...
There's a journalist here, or type, and they're very outward gazing. They never, and whenever they look at Irish politics, and now more so, and especially with that last election we have, it's very American. Like the last election we had was exceptionally American. I mean, people can correct me, but I don't know if I've seen the same, like, shaking hands, kissing babies, photo ops that in any election in my lifetime. Do you know, I've seen them head to like pints and pubs and stuff, but there was stuff, it was like, this is like Mary Lou dancing with the shopkeeper. That sounds like something that Kamala Harris would do.
That sounds like a Conor Moore sketch.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that thing in particular is that Simon Harris had showed up to that place, the exact same place earlier that day or later that day, and he was also dancing with her.
No way.
So she danced with him, and she was like, "Oh, we're so glad to have you here. Oh God, it's great." And she starts dancing with him. Then Mary Lou comes in later on. Same thing. Starts dancing with Mary Lou. But the clip that keeps getting circulated is her dancing with Mary Lou, because Mary Lou looks like a human being who, like, is able to.
So Simon Harris looks like a lizard doing a mating ritual. Where the male eats the woman afterwards. Where were they dancing?
I think it was I swear to God, I think it was in Wicklow, which is also more embarrassing that Mary Lou comes out of that with the clip as opposed to him when it's his actual constituency.
But I'll keep people updated with how this book is going.
It is really like, when you see that, you're like, I don't know, I feel like Irish journalists are embarrassed about being Irish, and then they don't know enough about American stuff, and they're not interested as well. They're not like anytime, I was thinking about this today, because I was listening to the Journal podcast ages ago. They've got a thing called The Explainer, but one of the ones that they were talking about, like, the American elections. I can't remember what it was to do with it, But they were like, now we're joined by Matt Iglesias. I was like, fucking Matt Iglesias, you know what I mean? Like, to get their insight. And it's like, and then when the results started coming in for the American election in 2020, they're like, okay, now we got Samantha Power on the line. It's fucking Samantha Power. Do you know what I mean? Like, and they don't see anything. And then even Larry Donnelly, who we mentioned in a bit that I think I cut out of the last one just because it was too long. But, you know, where he's like, as a father, I can't hold it against Biden that he, you know, pardoned his own son. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just so funny that this is their thing. They love talking, they love thinking about American politics, but it is the most surface level, just perceived wisdom from CNN fucking hacks.
Yeah. I think as well, when people are talking about conspiracy theories, it's a mad thing where, like, I think when people are talking about conspiracy theories, they operate under this thing of like, by definition, they're wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh, well, say she talks about the Tuskegee experiment where, like, do you ever read about that? Where, like, black men were infected.
When was this book released?
Recently. I don't know.
Like, it just, the idea, all that shit is in the X-Files. All the stuff that you're talking about.
You know, that's not a conspiracy. It was like black men were infected with syphilis, promised healthcare, but it was really just an experiment to see how it progressed. And then, you know, that's not a conspiracy theory because that's fact. Whereas 9/11, truth is, that is conspiracy theory because it's by definition false, you know, as people understand it. And I think what happens, part of the reason why there are conspiracy theories is because, like, we live in like a, not to be too like zeitgeist, but it's like we live in like a schizophrenic society where we're constantly told, like, we live in a liberal democracy where the people run the place and we have liberal values that, like, what are the liberal values? It's like the primacy of human life or like for liberties. And then we're also constantly aware that the government operates on its own accord against those very values, you know? So, like, you live in Ireland and you're aware that women were forced into essentially slavery in the laundries because they had a kid. Well, that's not liberal and that's not democratic. But Simon Harris is on the news talking about how we live in a liberal democracy. And, like, so you're aware that there's this constant violation of the official line. So then you're like, oh, why couldn't 9/11 also be a violation of that liberal line?
Yeah.
Because it seems to happen all the time. So why wouldn't it happen this time, you know? And then the news are going, no, that's crazy. That would never happen. The government would never do that. And it's like, well, why wouldn't they? That's not a defense because they've done plenty of other stuff, you know?
That's the free bit. Go to patreon.com/CelticLigers to hear the rest, where the Ligers further pick through the ashes of general election 2024, referencing a journal article by Paul Murphy. Then they talk about former Housing Minister Eoghan Murphy's mental health. Finally, they belatedly celebrate International Men's Day by reading an Irish Independent article about Irish male celebrities naming their favorite men.